Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
Welcome. This is the XIII Chat Podcast, and we got a very, very, very special show for you today. Yes, sir. And as always, I cannot forget to mention my man with the master plan, my brother from another mother, Mr. Christopher C. Rodriguez. What's up, sir?
What's up, man? What's up, Houston?
Mr. Khoa, how you doing, sir? Man, make it happen. Doing the ones and twos, always spinning. What's up, baby?
What up, bro? Doing good.
Hey, so Chris, man, gotta break this down. But
yes.
I think I got a special guest in the house today.
Absolutely. We got the shoe god of Houston with us today. This is not only the Filipino PJ Tucker, but an actual shoe specialist, a Nike Air Jordan specialist. You know him as Calvin, but I know him as Calvin Filipino PJ Tucker.
What up? Me and the boys hanging out. What's up, y'all?
Man, look at that.
I'm not the shoe god, please, but thank you for that. That was very nice. But I'm happy
we
to
got
be
the
here.
shoe expert in the house tonight. We had to bring him back. He was the most requested guest of our show of all time.
Thanks, Khoa.
How you doing, sir? Welcome to the show once again.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Appreciate it, guys.
Like I said, it's a very special show in honor of The Last Dance, in honor of the series finale. Unfortunately, it has come to an end. But with that being said, we decided to put our own list, make our own top 10 Air Jordans of our favorite shoes.
Yeah.
And, we had to get the expert opinion. That's why we brought our man Calvin back. And the ladies love him, so, we got to bring him back.
What?
Yeah.
My voice is going to change now. Oh, for real?
Chris, you want to introduce our sponsor of the day today?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that. The top 10 Jordans of all time, 38.1 episode is sponsored by socks. That's right. Without socks, we couldn't wear our Jordans.
I love it.
And most importantly, they do a great job of cleaning up a mess, if you know what I mean.
Like when y'all spilled juice? Or...
That's how we're going to start off the show. Hey, man, cheers. Cheers to The Last Dance. I got to do it big. I saw Jordan with the big ass glass of Crown on the rock, so I got to do the same thing, baby. Cheers, y'all. Congratulations for watching the Last Dance. All right, so let's get right into it. The way we're going to break this down is going to actually be by model. There's so many different ways and styles and colorways that Jordan has put out throughout the history of not only just the original releases, but also the retro. And everything goes into our category as far as what we believe is broken down from 10 to 1, whether it has longevity, whether it has original style, original technology, all that. So as far as that's concerned, man, I would feel free to comment, disagree, agree, and share and subscribe, share and like. We like to talk about shoes. That's why we brought the shoe god in. So let's start off. Listen, honestly, I'm gonna say it like this: when he was just Mike Jordan, to where he became Michael Air Jordan, to where his shoes are now Nike Air Jordans, to then losing the Nike to just literally the title Air Jordans. Then he had the swoosh on the side. Then they took it off. Then he had his own emblem, his own logo. Then he changed it again. He changed it up on us. Then Spike Lee came and he introduced us again to doing the right thing. Of course you know what I'm talking about. Don't scuff these shoes. Don't step on my shoes. You better watch out. You step on my shoes on the court, I'm going to come for you. You know that. Then the man created his own brand, his own clothing line, his own line of shoes. Name me another person that did that before him. Nobody. Not as he came and changed the game, he's actually changed the culture. We rally around the brand Jordan. We all came from creating something that was just an afterthought, a shoe that we just wore while we were playing basketball, to becoming the shoe that we wore while playing basketball. And actually, the shoe that we wore just walking down the street feeling fly and fresh. You know, this shoe, this brand, has no party ties. You know it doesn't, excuse me. No gender lines and no racial divides. Look at us now. Hispanic, Asian, African American, white boys. Everybody's included in this brand. This is a culture movement, baby.
Me.
And I love it. I love it. So in honor of that, here's our top 10 people. And I'm going to start it out with the fly and the fresh. Number 10, Michael Air Jordan came out with Air Jordan 14s. And what I love about this one, for the number 10 spot in a number 10 episode of The Last Dance, the last shot you see him take is in these Air Jordan 14s. To the day, to now, we call them the last shots because we all know what we're talking about. So yeah, Tinker Hatfield come out and create a shoe, sleek, nice, designed after the Ferrari that Michael Jordan would drive into the arena. If you remember the soles, they looked like tires. They felt like tires. It was one of my favorite all-time basketball playing shoes. And you can't forget the wings. And like I said, the last shot you ever saw Michael Jordan take as a Chicago Bull was in these shoes. The last shots. Michael Jordan's Air Jordan 14s. Yes, sir. There's number 10, people.
Yeah.
Good choice.
That's a good one. Do we have that one?
No, that's the one I was gonna bring, but I didn't bring. But
Is that the Ferrari one?
yeah,
Yes, sir.
Ferrari with the emblem on the side
The carbon fiber
and the little side panels. Yeah, it looked like carbon fiber, but it was just side panels.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie, man. That's definitely one of my favorite hooping shoes of all time. It was
100%.
I love the fact that it felt like a before there was even low tops. It felt like you were playing on the low top. It was super lightweight, full zoom air, and it just felt like every time you shot the ball, you were taking the last shot. It just made you feel like a real baller on the court.
All right, for all the hoopers.
I will say this. If you guys remember, he was actually wearing another one that we might bring up before, later on in the countdown. But before, in game, I want to say 1 to 5, he wore a completely different shoe. He put on the 14s for game 6.
That's right.
Interesting.
Showed
I
out,
didn't even
baby.
know that.
Now, what do you think about that, Mr. Calvin? Like, what is your whole?
Oh man, no. No. First off, I just want to ask all the hoopers here, especially Khoa, that when that shoe came out, how many of you guys were doing that move, like in the driveway, like the little push off, the little crossover into the jump shot? And people didn't do that back then. They didn't cross over the jump shot. You cross over, it went straight to the basket. But I remember doing that. Khoa, did you do that?
Yeah, dude, totally, man. Yeah, when I was
when you were playing tennis.
When I was 9 years old, not knowing what a basketball was. Oh my god.
So a little FYI here. I know it's getting long for number 14, but so I don't know if you remember in the Last Dance, Scottie Pippen was hurt. His back. He was just basically playing decoy, and he was basically on his own through that game, throughout the game. And at the end of the game, Phil Jackson started telling Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan was exhausted at this point. He knew by maybe going to a 7th game, they might not win it. So at this point, Michael Jordan's exhausted. Phil Jackson steps to the side and pulls him over, and he literally steps and tells Michael Jordan to follow through with his shot, to completely, when he releases, do not just release the ball regularly. Follow through to the tips of your fingers. That's why he actually held it up as far as his last shot, and he follows through and he holds up the hand.
Because
he
his
wanted
legs
to
were
make
gone.
sure every centimeter of his finger felt that ball before he left it to make sure it went in. Ladies and gentlemen, you have it. The last shot.
That's nice.
All right, fellas. 4, number 9. What do we got, Khoa?
All right. Speaking of the last shot, you talking about the shoes that he was wearing before putting the 14s on. Comes to our number 9, the Air Jordan 13. The predecessor to the 14 came out in 97. Released in the holidays in 97. A lot of great colorways. Right next to me, actually, is the Flint. If you can't see, right here, the shoe cam. You want to show the shoe cam? That was a pair donated to us by the Cookie Cutter. And I said donated. Yeah, we own this now. And yeah, it's a great shoe, of course, designed by Tinker Hatfield, of course, which you'll be hearing about a lot through this episode. And his inspiration for it came from the paw of like a panther, or like a black cat, which that's how he described how Jordan played without even knowing that black cat was like his nickname.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So that is a great story of how you see the design in it with kind of the sole. It resembles a little bit of how like a panther or like a big cat paw print. And of course, before the shoe was actually released to the public, it got a lot of it got used in Spike Lee movie. Of course, talk about Spike Lee in He Got Game with Mr. Jesus Shuttlesworth and Ray Allen in that great scene and whatnot. And that was phenomenal.
He had the black and white ones, right? The playoffs.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't the playoffs. The ones he was wearing on the court when Ray Allen met up with him in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Which colorway was he wearing? Do you remember?
It was just black and white. So they got so when they released them, like after the fact, they got they call them the He Got Games, and then they got the reverse He Got Games. So they have the black and white and then the white and black.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's kind of like a cool story with that one too. But yeah, so that is the Jordan 13 released in the holiday season of 97, coming in at number 9. I don't know if y'all ever had any pairs, or if that's a favorite among y'all.
Yeah. Actually, the Flints were the first pair of Air Jordans that I ever was able to buy and keep. And I wore them in high school. And you got to understand, man, I had the worst shoes ever because I had no money. But I was so proud of these shoes because I worked a lot of shifts at Chuck E. Cheese all the way to 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, shout out Chuck E. Cheese. And I remember I was so excited to go to the Bird Cove at Bel Air High School just so I could flaunt them and show John that I actually had some J's. John always had the good shoes. I wasn't walking in there with some
Pro Wings? Pro Wings, dude. That's what they were called.
I don't remember all that. I remember having all the good shoes.
I do.
So I actually did not like the shoe upon its release. I don't know why. If you look at the original models, like the He Got Games, for me, the outer side of the texture, right here, I don't know if you can see it in there, it looks like dimples on a sofa.
On a
so
sofa?
It always, yeah, like a leather sofa.
I wasn't going to use sofa, but I felt what you were talking about.
So I never liked the shoe because I was like, yo, those are furniture shoes. I ain't messing with those.
Whoa.
Until I saw the breads, and then they hit it with that 3M behind it. You know, when you flex it, it shines that whole background of that whole thing. And I was like, all right, I'm hooked. But yeah, I'm definitely a fan of the Flints just because I'm a fan of non-Bulls colorways. And I think anytime they use blue, it's dope. And this little logo too. You know what this logo is supposed to represent, Khoa? Y'all know what this logo?
No. What's up?
It's supposed to be the Panther's eye.
Oh.
Whoa! Did not know that. Hey, man, look at that tidbit. Hey, I knew we brought the expert on for the reason.
Hold on, look this shit up. Maybe I'm lying.
Hey, I also want to shout out that I used to love the Flints until the Cowboy fans decided to make it the Cowboy Starter Kit official shoe.
The Tony Romo shoe.
Yeah,
with the jean shorts.
God damn it. All right, so I think we're on number 8, right?
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure that I can get this right. All right, guys, coming in at number 8, this is the Air Jordan 7, also known as the Hair Jordan. This was released in 1992 and actually released in 5 colorways and retailed and this is sad to say, at $125. Now, many people think the shoe was inspired by Bugs Bunny, and that may have been the whole marketing campaign, but people fail to realize that Tinker actually was inspired when he was in Portland. He actually saw an actual poster, which was African art influenced by Afro-pop worldwide. And the person on the poster was actually playing a guitar shaped like Africa. Around the same time that he was actually designing the shoe and collaborating with Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan definitely said he wanted something young and interesting while remaining sophisticated. So Tinker actually went back to the store to actually try to buy that poster. And of course, the owner was like, "No, this is actually part of like the Afro pop music, the marketing campaign." And he let him know that, hey, this is actually like, I'm actually a designer for Jordan brand, and I need this poster so I can continue to actually like draw this out and finish this. So all the lines in the Air Jordan 7 were actually influenced by Western African tribal patterns. A lot of people don't know this. And also too, it's actually the first shoe too that Jordan won that actually had a different number besides 23. And that's the number 9 when he played for the 1992 Barcelona Dream Team. So coming in at number 8, the Air Jordan 7. For me personally, I think the Boudreaux, or how do you say it, Calvin?
The Bordeaux.
The Bordeaux. I don't always say the Boudreaux, but the Bordeaux.
So
that is absolutely my favorite color story of that shoe. I just love that shoe. But the 7s, it actually had that inner like Huarache sleeve inside.
The booty?
It was just a good shoe, man. I love that shoe. Thoughts, guys? Thoughts?
Mm-hmm. That was actually the shoe that I actually wanted more than anything. So I couldn't get it at the time. Like you say, you wanted to show off these shoes. I remember a time where, like, my mom thought anything over $80 was ridiculous, for a shoe. But, I will say that Jordan's always pushed that envelope, always did something nice and sweet. And that shoe exactly is the one that, to me, showed that Michael Jordan, or at least showed me, and I think the rest of the world, that Michael Jordan wasn't just a U.S. phenomenon. He was a worldwide phenomenon because he took that shoe over, like Chris was saying earlier, to Barcelona. And I can remember the exact moment where Michael Jordan, they taped their video camera behind Michael Jordan, looking at his like 50-foot poster. And it wasn't like a billboard. It's like on the side of the wall. And he just, that moment, I realized he transcended basketball. He transcended borders. And he was a worldwide spokesman for something that was bigger than the game itself.
For sure. I agree, man. Like, just going off that Barcelona thing, like Chris said, anytime it's not like the typical Jordan colorway, for any Olympic colorway, USA, different number, it's one of my favorites. But I don't know if you mentioned this earlier too, but this is I think the first time we started branding with Bugs Bunny, the Jordan 7. And, as a kid growing up, I was like, yo, this is cool. Cartoons and basketball all together, in one commercial. And they were fun. They were fun commercials. And it just made it sound like, yo, that's dope. I'm a kid. This is an adult playing basketball, but it's like all the same. You know what I mean? It's made it fun for kids, so to speak. So for me, the 7 was definitely like one of those milestones like, yo, basketball can be for kids, if that makes sense.
Good shit, man. All right, so coming in at number, we got to keep this right. I almost flubbed up like last time. Coming in at number 7, Michael Jordan's, and one of my most iconic. I tell you what, when we were making this list, it was hard. It wasn't an easy list. When we came down to it, this I almost feel like it's almost disrespectful to even put it this far down. But it's actually one of my favorite shoes of all time as far as Michael Jordan Air Jordans are concerned. It was one of my holy grails of shoes. The Michael Jordan Air Jordan 5s. created again by Tinker Hatfield. He wanted to do something like a World War II type shoe with inspirations of a fighter jet with the teeth on the side. You see it on the shoe. Calvin's holding up that whole, fighter jet inspiration. Has the air pocket, and also takes a little bit from the number 4, the predecessor with the mesh on the side, and also I liken it to. We kind of agreed on this. There's a tie on the shoe that keeps the laces together, but it reminds us of helmet ties, like kind of like that what you would put on a fighter jet pilot helmet, And
that's cool.
Ain't nobody gonna. This is one of the shoes that you wore the tongue out of the pants. You had to get that. Everybody had to get that bling, that reflective in your face when you come around. Make sure. One of my favorite shoes of all time. Actually, you got the white colorway. I got the black colorway.
Hey.
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm trying to get in the can. Oh, there we go. Hey, love that 2-3 on the side as well.
That's
got that. Oh, there you go, jump man. Yeah, coming in at number 7. Excuse me, Air Jordan number 5. Yes, sir.
Calvin, talk to us about this shoe, man. Tell us something special about this shoe.
Nah, man. I mean, just kind of going off of it. If you haven't guessed it already, I like the non-typical Jordan stuff. I mean, the classic Bulls colorway is always dope. But of course, the one that got me, when you saw Fresh Prince rocking them grapes, you're like, yo, purple? Yo, what the hell, purple?
Hey, bro, shout out to North Carolina. Houston, I mean, whatever, dude. It was Charlotte Hornets. That's what it was.
Yeah, those are so dope. And just because it's such a shocking colorway, to see something like that. And anytime you have those metallic tongues, super dope. But just for me, just seeing Fresh Prince and Will Smith have it, it's just an iconic figure because every kid, adult, person, man or woman wants to be Will Smith. And if you don't, you're lying. So just to see that kind of style, especially on mainstream TV, just kind of see the way he rocked it. Will Smith was a hooper, but he wore that just as a fly kid. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's my favorite part. And I didn't really notice this too until you said it, John, about the whole lace lock thing being the the lace lock for a helmet or something like that.
Like a fighter jet.
Fighter jet.
Like
helmet.
a pilot.
Yeah. But I just thought it was cool. It's just another accessory on your shoe. Like, this is a cool thing to have, Anytime there's all these little tidbits on there, I'm down. But and my other second favorite part is the translucent sole. I mean, come on, man. What other shoes doing that? You know what I'm saying? Light years. They're light years ahead of
Hey, we got to get on the show later, on the side of the show, excuse me. I need to know how to keep them from going yellow, bro, because
time machine, bro. That's it. you can't keep them out of the sun.
I'm one of the few people that loves those the 5s when they actually start turning yellow. I don't know why, but I just, for whatever reasons, I'm just telling you, man. It's just like there's some people that like creases or like when shoes start looking like old. Like there's something about that color, especially this year when the Jordan 5s came off in that off-white
those
collab. Then he made the Jordans that tarnish yellowish color purposely, and it just looked fly. I'm just saying, maybe I'm one of those few people. It's kind of like eat burnt popcorn. I just like it.
I have a pair I have a pair that yellow. I should have brought that with me. Some metallic blues, but that yellow is not like burnt popcorn. That's straight like dehydrated pee-pee.
Slide on that burnt popcorn shit. Like what who eats burnt popcorn? I've never heard that. I've heard of cold pizza. I've heard, day leftovers, but burnt popcorn. Come on.
I'll eat the kernels from the bottom of the bag.
All right, Mr. Khoa. What you got for us for number 6, baby?
I think I'm number 6.
Coming in at number 6. We had a little bit of segue bits into it. Talked about Bugs Bunny. We mentioned that when we talked about the 7. So I think it's only natural to talk about its successor, which comes in at number 6, which is the Air Jordan 8, released in 1993. Is almost like the bigger, badder brother of the 7. You can see a lot of similar design elements with the Huarache inner sleeve. It has a polycarbonate torsion plate.
Going to the polycarbonate torsion plate.
Yeah, so over there somewhere.
Where identify that for me, Khoa, if you wouldn't mind.
So you see right there, Calvin is actually holding the original colorway, which is the Bugs Bunny, not the actual original release, but the original colorway, which is the Bugs Bunny. And also has some great colorways. The one that came out in the All-Star game with the Aquas, the Aqua 8s, and had the playoff ones as well, the black and red ones. Had some phenomenal ones with the double strap that people call the bunny ears, of course, and with the little like the carpet, if you will, with the logo that you have right there with the 3 different colors. I mean, just a really freaking cool shoe, I think, and definitely, I'm sure y'all have a lot of memories with that. I never had a pair myself. I would love a pair. They look, I feel like they look not comfortable, but I'd still rock them.
I'll beat your ass.
Are they comfortable?
Bro, any Jordan's comfortable, bro. When you're wearing it for the first time.
Yeah. All right.
So like I said, Jordan was always one to push the envelope as far as new technology and different, standing out from the rest of the shoes. That double strap was something I had never really seen before on a shoe. Not that way, not the crisscross.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the strap across. If you remember, the old Diamond Turtles had the huge strap.
Oh yeah.
And they had the toe strap. But I had never seen a double strap crisscross. It looks so like your foot was never going to get out of that shoe, especially to hooping. I unfortunately never had the pleasure of owning a pair of those, but I sure as hell would have got the Aquas. Those Aquas was fire.
The color story way. Yeah, a side note on that too is that there was controversy between Tinker and Nike because Tinker wanted to make sure there was no Nike symbols whatsoever on the Jordan 8, period. And actually, Nike actually laughed in his face. But Tinker actually went and fought for the fact that Jordan standalone as its own brand could sustain itself for not just that shoe, but for the future. And so, like I said, Nike wasn't having it, but they eventually, Tinker fought, and kept fighting, and eventually they did exactly that. So there's no Nike brand, a swoosh, Nike check, anything on it, just the Jordan logo. And this was pretty important moving forward because this just pretty much solidified that even though Jordan was under Nike, that Jordan had became in many ways bigger than Nike.
Oh, yeah. All right, fellas. So, moving on to number 5. Chris, what you got for us, sir?
Looks like number 5 coming in at number 5, released in 1989, retailed at $110. Breaks my heart to say that. Wish it was 110 now. And that is going to be the Air Jordan 4s. And interesting about the Air Jordan 4s is that, you know, this was the predecessor of Tinker's first shoe of the Jordan collection, which was the Air Jordan 3. So this was his second shoe, which was the Air Jordan 4. And when it released, people hated the shoe. People actually thought it was ugly. They didn't get this shoe at all. It wasn't until later on, like years later on, that this shoe became iconic and it actually became such a trend-setting shoe, especially with the Jordan and the flight. Yeah, I mean, this shoe was definitely different and was really its own, I guess you can say, its own unique design, especially when you look at the Jordan 1s, 2s, and then going into the 3s. Of course, Tinker kept the whole concept of the visible air bubble. And he also did the whole over the molded mesh, which was something unique and different. Now, I will say this on a personal level. I love rocking this shoe and I love the way it looks on feet, but it's definitely probably the most uncomfortable shoe I've ever worn in a Nike collection. That's just a personal feelings on that shoe. But coming in at number 5, the Jordan 4, I think we can all agree, especially in that Chicago colorway. And then you think about the military blues, just some iconic classic colors. And not only that, but what would you call those things on the side, Calvin?
The lace locks.
These little grid.
The lace holes.
Yeah.
The little mesh lace holes.
For me, I I thought that shoe was so tight because especially if you were wearing with jeans, you didn't have to actually put your shoestrings through the shoe. So you can actually leave those things just kind of hanging and flopping. And it just gave kind of like a different feel of how you were rocking that shoe, which made it unique and different.
When did you say the shoe came out?
1989.
Okay. Yeah.
Good year. Huh? Good year, dude. Best year.
I think for me, I don't know which came out first, but these reminded me a lot. I mean, I didn't get into shoes or this shoe until later as I got older, so I wasn't like a fan of it as I was younger. It reminds me a lot of with Tinker's the AirTech Challenge. I don't know if you know that shoe, the tennis shoe, the Agassi shoe. And they have these same kind of like netting and what'd you call it, the lace lock things. So I think that reflected upon each other. So for me, I know Khoa is the resident tennis superstar here, but tennis was actually the first sport that I ever played. So I was kind of drawn to that first, too. Yeah.
Yeah. What's up? What's up? Dropping these nuggets. Oh, man.
As an Asian kid and Michael Chang around, that's your first sport for every Asian kid that grew up in the 80s and 90s.
So,
and 1989 was a good year for Michael Chang.
Are actually what drove me into the culture from the beginning. I didn't know the ones, not like I know them now. Right. I didn't know so to be honest with you, I went and I knew a little bit about Jordan, and I knew he had his own shoe, and I knew it was something big. I didn't know what it was. So I remember being attracted to it, but then when he dropped the 2s, I didn't like them, right? Then he dropped the 3s, and I was like, okay. But when the 4s came out, that's when I knew he was pushing the culture. The reason I know that is it was the first time a friend of mine at the time, my best friend, his name was Sport. That's what we called him. And he's the one that taught me to hoop from the beginning.
That's right.
Little 3-foot goal. It was like 10-year-olds just fucking like just going at it. Anyways, he's like, oh my God, I can't wait till the 4s come out. And I'm like, the 4s? Yeah, the Air Jordan 4s. They're about to drop. Like, what do they drop in October usually? Or November? And so he's like, I gotta get them. I'm like, why do you gotta get tennis shoes? And like, I'm a poor little Hispanic dude, little Mexican Colombian motherfucker running around in some chanclas and shit, playing basketball in the blacktop with like just socks and chanclas, right? So I would hoop in anything. This dude had to be fresh, had to go and get the flyest shoes and always balling me up. I ain't gonna lie, he balled me up. Like I ball up Chris now.
Oh, okay. I got
it. Yeah, he was the one that kind of put me on. And when he got the shoes, it was just like a recreation of do the right thing. Where if I even came close to even stepping on his shoes while we was hooping, we had issues. So number 4s are what really put me on to realizing this was just a different animal, a different species when it came to tennis shoes.
For sure.
Hey, Calvin, have you ever tried to hoop in those shoes?
I have not. I have not hooped in a pair of retros except for 12s, 13s.
Whoa!
Well, those are great shoes. I mean, but I actually did attempt to try like a couple years back to try to hoop in a 4. I don't know how Jordan did it, man. That shoe, that's no.
I mean, you gotta remember, man. Hooping shoes started off really rough. I mean, what was his name? Dropping 100 points in the Chuck All-Stars.
Jesus, can you imagine that? You imagine how hard his heavy or how much his feet
calves
hurt?
are.
Yeah, but he had a lot of women to massage him anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Hello.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get the show on the road. So that brings us to number 4 on this list. The Jordan 6s is our resident number 4. One of my favorite shoes of all time. I've yet to get a quality pair. I've tried, man. I really have tried getting a quality pair on eBay, on Craigslist. I've yet to get a quality pair that I could say that this was something that I respectfully own in my closet. The Jordan 6s, again, Tinker Hatfield. Man, I'm beginning to think that this guy is just as much of a genius in the space of creating shoes that Michael Jordan is in the space of dribbling and basketball. But again, comes with the shoe ties. He even came like with a shoelace shield at the beginning, at the front of the shoe, the air bubble on the side, the translucent. And one of my favorite things about the shoe, period, is the colorway, especially the black version of it. The black infrareds, what they're called, that colorway. And it just reminds me of that little red dot coming for your head, you know, whenever you go on stealth. And it's just one of the most aesthetically pleasing shoe that I've ever seen as a tennis shoe to play basketball in. Again, I've been chasing this shoe down forever. I can't say enough good things about the shoe. This is actually the shoe that Michael Jordan wins his first NBA championship in. So much props to him. Tinker Hatfield, salute to you. If I'm saying that right?
Yes.
And Michael Jordan for blessing us with this one. One for the ages, sir. Michael Jordan, Air Jordan 6s.
Calvin, talk to me about the 6s. You know, we and I have had conversations with 6s, and you gotta understand, every time I see Calvin with those damn maroon 6s.
Wait, what is the one that you have? What do you have right there?
Oh, these are Josh's. He got this for his birthday. I hate him so much. And he called me, he goes, Chris, guess what I got for my birthday? I'm like, what? The
Your
maroon
favorite
6s.
shoe in the world?
Man, I damn near, like, it was like a movie. I was screaming. I was like, no!
Nah, man. I mean, for me, yeah, all the colorways for the 6s are dope. I think the best thing for me about this shoe, you mentioned it earlier, Chris, about the design, about Tinker Hatfield with the 7s, like where he got his inspiration. Like the 6s were the first shoe I started seeing this super, I don't know if you can see on the sole here, but like these zigzaggy kind of 90s, like the ushering in of that 90s print of the very zigzaggy kind of bold outline. And for me, that was just like my first thing, because then it became like, okay, now these shoes are about style. It's not about like fitting the NBA colorways and everything. Now it's like, okay, I'm putting fashion out there. I'm putting a matching t-shirt, right? I think when that iconic photo of Jordan in that kind of purpley t-shirt with the matching shorts that's going out there right now, I think that's around 6 or 7 or something like that. But yeah, that whole style, so dope. And then just having these like rubbery tongue that you can pull on, I mean, that's just dope. And having Jordan win his first one in it, that's the most memorable part of the shoe. You know what I'm saying?
We're getting down to the top 3 of the countdown. Chris, would you please do the honors?
Yes, man. Coming in number 3, I think probably might be arguably probably one of the most important tennis shoes in the Jordan collection, and that is the Air Jordan 3. And what people don't realize is this was the first time of the Tinker Hatfield collaboration with Michael Jordan. Now, this shoe released in 1987, 1988, and they sold for $100. You hear me? $100. Jesus. Breaks my heart. So this is how the story goes, or how this all came about. So Peter Moore and Bruce Kilgore, who designed Air Jordan 1 and 2, basically left Nike. And the result of that actually put the design of Air Jordan 3 6 months behind. Jordan at this point was not happy with Nike. He did not really care too much for the Jordan 1s and 2s, and he was actually ready to leave. And Phil Knight knew how important this meeting with was going to be with Michael Jordan to keep him from leaving Nike and going to Adidas. So that's when he got his best designer, who had done so many other previous shoes, which was Tinker. When Tinker realized that they were 6 months behind, that he was going to get a meeting with Jordan less than a month or so, Tinker worked tirelessly, endlessly, like months with no sleep, trying to put this shoe together. And he knew that Jordan was a type of person that was more visual, so he had to see the shoe in his hand. So Jordan was supposed to go to this meeting to see the new Jordan 3 release, and hopefully they can keep Jordan from leaving Nike. He showed up 4 hours late. he actually was playing golf, and the people he was playing golf with had already convinced him to go ahead and just leave Nike altogether. Luckily, he ended up showing up, and he kind of had an attitude, like dismissive, like, all right, show me what you got. And Tinker's like, all right, pulled the covers of the shoe, basically said, hey, you know what? You said you wanted a mid-cut. No one ever done in the mid-cut. Not only is it a mid-cut, you also said you wanted materials that no one's ever seen and used. I got leather elephant print. You said you wanted a shoe that way you could just put in and fits like a glove, like it's already been like worn in type of feel. This is tumbleweed leather, so it's easy, soft, breakable. Jordan was hooked, and not only was Jordan hooked, but like Tinker was like, I'll one up you. Can no one else do this for you? I already have the gear to go along with this. I already have the jumpsuits, the shorts, everything, etc. And he was able to actually show him visually what that was gonna look like. You gotta think about this. No shoe had ever used elephant print before. That's crazy. And not only that, it was the first time ever that Jordan used a visible air bubble. This shoe became so iconic and actually established probably one of the greatest working relationships of Tinker Hatfield and Michael Jordan. Jordan 3s. Oh my goodness. And by the way, shout out, if you get a chance, go and go to Netflix. There is a show called Abstract: The Art of Design. They actually profile Tinker Hatfield, and he actually explains this story and so many other stories. If it wasn't for Tinker and Jordan, Nike would not be where they're at today. And so, very, very good show. I love to hear what Calvin has to say about the Jordan 3, because I know that that's such an important shoe for all Jordan collectors.
All right, shoe expert, step up, baby.
No, man. I mean, you said it all, dude. Like, 100% elephant print.
That was the most complete description so far. Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that Tinker put together a whole line. He may have been responsible pretty much single-handedly for creating the Jordan brand, because the other two guys that had left, I remember Jordan was kind of like also ran with the other two shoe designers for the ones and the twos. Yeah, he got credit, but he wasn't the Tinker Hatfield that we know what he is today. So I didn't know Jordan 3 started it all off.
Plus, this is the shoe that Jordan won slam dunk contest in. You know what I mean? So that's probably, for me, one of the top iconic photos of Jordan ever, other than the one where he's holding the wings, like left to right. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, right.
Yeah. But as far as like Jordan in action, I think every college kid had that in their dorm room somewhere, of that photo, and it just looks so clean, man. It just looks so clean, and yeah, just seeing elephant print or cement print, whatever you want to call it, man, you just never seen it before. And plus, it's just cool to say, oh, you rocking cheetah? Nah, fam, I got elephant print, dog.
Yeah. I think Tinker also took to the concept of if you look good, you play better. Because that season alone and those threes were so different and so iconic. He actually won the slam dunk contest, like Calvin was saying. He actually was an all-star MVP, all-defensive first team, and defensive player of the year. So I'm just saying, he felt good because he looked good. He was balling his ass off on those threes.
And on top of that, just from a big boy's perspective, this shoe was the perfect bulkiness, in my opinion, because sometimes you be wearing ones and you be like, yo, why my ankles too big for this shoe on these ones? But the threes came out. It was a perfect boot size for bigger boys with bigger legs. So that's why I like it.
I will say, I have rocked every Jordan on the court except for these.
Ooh.
Except for the threes. I've never played in the threes. Never. I feel like it'd be almost disrespectful. I mean, maybe that's just me though. But them Jordan 3s, I could wear, especially with the black ones. To me, I like the black ones.
The black cement, yeah.
That's the one that was the first one that I bought for me and my son at the same time.
That's dope.
And rocked them at the same time. It's just a father-son thing. I think that sure. I even would go and stand in line just for him. And then these, when they dropped the retro version of it, I had to go stand in line for me and for him. And we both rocked it on the same day. And we were cheesy with it, man. Had a baby blue shirt, blue jeans. It's one of my photos that I have. If you follow me on Instagram, It's one of my photos that I have on there. I'll never take it down.
That's tight. That's what's up.
We getting down to the top 2. So I'll introduce number 2. I already talked about this man a lot. Probably pretty much every shoe that's been on this list so far has been a Tinker Hatfield creation. Is that right? Yeah, pretty much everything. And so we talked about the 3 at number 3, which being kind of the introduction to Tinker. But our number 2 shoe, arguably by a lot of people would say his greatest invention, probably definitely innovation is a word that comes to mind when you think about the shoe. And of course, I'm talking about the Air Jordan 11. Boom, released in 1995 for the 95-96 season. I think the original colorway, Calvin will show you in about 2.2 seconds, is the Concord right there. Beautiful. And I have the bread right here. Released, like I said, 1995. Sold for $125. And of course, you think about the 95 season, that is 95-96 season, that is Jordan's first full season back after his first retirement, after the Rockets 2 championships. Go Rockets, baby. Yeah. Right there. Had to let him know. But of course, Tinker Hatfield, knowing that this was Jordan's year to come back, thought he had to do it big, outdo himself, really reinvent the wheel, if you will. The patent leather is probably the most recognizable thing on the shoe, and it was just a game changer at the time, and I think really still is to this day. One of the few shoes that people will feel comfortable in rocking with a tux or a suit, no problem. And not only that, it had a full Nike Air unit as well as a full carbon fiber plate. And yeah, just I think it's just a beautiful shoe. My official first pair of Jordans. So shout out.
Hey, what about the Trunners you got? You got some Jordan Trunners.
Yeah. Shout out to the Trunners, dude. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, Tinker kind of pulled out all the stops. His inspiration was apparently a convertible, where you got like the patent leather being kind of like the shiny paint of the convertible with the crop top there. But yeah, so the 11, so many iconic colorways. Of course, you fast forward a couple of years to the movie Space Jam, and you have one of the most popular Jordans of all time is the Space Jam 11s, as well as the ones we're holding, being the other original colorways, and then the Columbias as well, Cool Grays, a bunch of other ones. But yeah, so 11s, what y'all think? Number 2, does that sound about right?
That's debatable. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion.
This was actually the hardest one. Like we went back and forth. We had probably a 2-hour conversation that lasted about 5 minutes. But when we got to 1 and 2, it took a whole hour and 55 minutes to discuss. But it was very close. If you want to even say 1A, 1B, I'll give you that. But number 2, the Jordan 11s. This is actually, and I've said this a couple times, but this is my holy grail. I've never got to own a pair. It just the stars never aligned for me. I know it's a holy grail for Chris. He finally got the breads. I actually wanted the Space Jams, and I think I kind of messed up because I put off the Concords. I put off the breads to go get the Space Jams, but the retro Space Jams were so limited and so fire that I was not in. I was like, I want to say about 4th in line when they sold out. Ooh.
Yeah. Heartbreaking.
Like I said, that sucked. And bro, trust me, I was one of those dudes that stayed overnight to get these. Like Black Friday, the November 11th, November 28th, or whatever it was when they dropped. I was one of those dudes that would stand in line overnight, and it was just me and a couple friends would get together and try to cop some shoes overnight. and I've gotten damn near every pair that I wanted except for these.
What size are you? Want to make a deal after this, or I got a couple?
Yeah, you got something for 125?
I think my signal cut out.
End the conversation.
Calvin. So
What's up?
I know with you being just a big fan of basketball, not just playing the game itself, but just all the history. Like, how much does this shoe mean to you, the 11s? And I want to know from your perspective, because I remember looking in East Bay and just being completely like, oh my God. Like, when you saw this shoe when you were a kid for the first time, to how it's just been such a holy grail and a must-have in your collection of Jordans. Definitely want to hear a little bit about that in a sense from you.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll try to keep it short, but I mean, just stylistically, this was the most eye-catching shoe I'd ever seen in my entire life. Remember, a kid pulled up to my street wearing them because I had a basketball court in my driveway, and I just could not stop staring at his feet, man. The shoe is just so freaking beautiful. It just reminds you of so many things, man. I know, what did Khoa say it was based off of? Convertible. For me, I kept thinking piano, like a beautiful piano. And I was just like, this is just so clean. There's no red, there's no blue. It's just black, white, and it just looks so beautiful. And it took me a while to figure out what even Concorde was. I didn't even know. I was like, Concorde, does that mean like a plane? Like a jet? Is that why black and white Concorde jet? And that it took me till basically I was a lot older to realize Concorde was the purple underneath. And so that was my fun fact. I don't know if anyone else, maybe I'm just stupid, but.
Hey, man, you've been dropping these nuggets all day. I appreciate it. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
That's why we have you on. No offense. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't. I mean, the ladies love you. Don't get me wrong, but, you know, the PJ Tucker even personally requested you. But, like, man, like, if we didn't have you on, we wouldn't have all these nuggets, man. I feel like we've dropped so much knowledge.
No, it's just, yeah. I mean, every time I see Concorde grape juice, I always have to get it. I remember, I think I asked Khoa to get me Concorde grape juice, and he just got me regular grape juice. And I told him there is a difference. Okay, there is a difference, a very expensive difference.
Yeah, no, he got that grape drink.
He got the grape drink. But just like iconically, just to wrap it up for me, it just you know, getting into Jordans was a lot with the Bugs Bunny kind of stuff, and to have it seen in the in Space Jam, just like that's the shoe, just looks so clean, because even it was just all black silhouette, just the offset of the different black mesh versus the black patent leather, and then that kind of bluish outsole. It looks so Galaxy-esque. It kind of fit the whole alien kind of theme, and you just never seen something like this before. And fun fact for me, this is actually the first shoe, well, the only shoe I ever paid for a used version, because I wanted this shoe so bad. If I don't get a shoe, I don't get it. I don't pay resale. That's just my thing. But some guys had this for $150 back in 2012, I think. And I was like, dude, and I don't know, I have a thing about wearing used shoes. But I was like, I had to do it just because how beautiful it is, and I could prove to my mom that you can wear sneakers with suits, man. Right.
For sure.
A side note on this shoe, I remember in middle school, because this is when the shoe came out, that it took a long time before you got any other color stories. So you pretty much just had the Concords. But everybody was seeing Michael Jordan wear different color stories when he was playing for the Bulls. So at Johnson Middle School, a lot of the kids were taking the Concords and taking them to the actual shoe repair stores and getting them dyed on top, black and in the red, so that way they could try to, like, you know, beat everybody to that. And it was so crazy, because at the time I was rocking Payless, so it didn't really matter anyways. But for me, I was just like so tight. And John is right. John and I have had endless conversations, and I was very blessed this year to get this shoe. I actually saved all my money when I was a kid, doing all kinds of odd jobs to get this shoe when it did the first retro release. And I was unable. I got the shoe, took it home, put it on my feet, and then, of course, at the time, my family couldn't pay rent, so I actually took this shoe back to give the money At the time, it was only $125 to give it to my fam, so they could actually pay rent. And for me, this shoe has always been like, oh my God, because I had it on my feet, and then having to return it, it was the first time ever that I literally was like crying. I threw up in my own mouth having to return the shoe. And crazy enough, when this shoe released, I tried to get it, but then of course it sold out. And they had just opened up the Champs over there in Pearland, the little Pearland area. And so they actually got I think a couple of weeks later, I wouldn't say 3 weeks later, they actually got a whole box of these. And one of Josh's uncles saw it and said, hey, Chris, I'll buy it for you right now. You just pay me the money. So that's how I got mine.
And
so
you didn't pay him,
right? A little Christmas bonus money went to that. So
that's sad, dude.
What I appreciate about this show, what we're doing right now, and I think that a lot of people can relate to it, is our stories of just getting the shoe, like just what we went through to get the shoe. That's what when I say that it created a culture, I feel like it created not only just a culture of just trying to get the shoe, but the resale culture, the retro culture, the branding culture, everything that came along with. Whose phone was that? God damn it!
Khoa, no, the guy who just got his shoes.
Hey. No, but seriously, like when we think back on these shoes, there's, you know how when we have these moments in our lives, like Biggie passed away, boom, we know where we were, when it happened. Unfortunately, 9/11, we know those moments, and on a similar plane of feeling, we know what we went through to get to these shoes. When we saw them for the first time, when we saw them on the court for the first time, when we felt how they felt when we dribbled the basketball and took that like little crossover for the first time. That's what these shoes do for us. And this is what I wanted to provide for the people listening to this show, watching this show. This is what we went through. And maybe, in some small way, the kids of today, they have something like that with LeBron James. I doubt it, but for a big section of our demographic, we got to experience that with this shoe. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we've come. Oh, go ahead. You got one more thing to say, Chris?
No, I'm just holding up the number one because we're number one.
Yeah.
With that being said, the number one shoe, the one that started it all, number one, Sports Trapp,
the music.
number one shoe
music
of the year, of the decade, of all time, the Air Jordan number one.
Yeah.
Like I said, we went back and forth, but everything has a beginning, right? Everything has a beginning. And in this case, the Air Jordan 1s was that beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the greatest shoe of all time, the one that started it all, the one that gave us the culture, that gave us the basketball shoe to end all basketball shoes. The Michael Jordan of basketball shoes, Air Jordan, Nike Air Jordan number 1s. Sir, gents, ladies, every time Michael Jordan stepped on this on the basketball court, because there was not enough white in the shoe, he got fined $5,000. In 1985, guy was fined $5,000. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, it wasn't $100. It wasn't even $125. It wasn't $200. It wasn't something that you could resell on the market for $400 up to $1,000. It was $65, ladies and gentlemen. $65.
What's that with inflation?
Oh my God! That hurts
now
to even say that.
Ridiculous.
Again, he was banned. Little trivia: the shoes that they actually had for Michael Jordan that got banned weren't the Air Jordans. It was actually called the air battleships. But
that's tight.
Since they had to put a little bit more white, Khoa's actually holding up the colorway that actually NBA approved. But they took that ban and they ran with it. And one thing I think that they still do to this day is they make it a point of scarcity to where you think you'll never ever get a pair of shoes, of Michael Air Jordan shoes or Nike Air Jordan, because you feel like that shoe will get sold out, and they do it on purpose. But in this instance, they created that scarcity with the Air Jordan number 1s. They said the shoes were banned, and in banning them, you had to get them because you never knew when they were going to come back because they were banned. They were illegal. And you know us, you know we have to do everything against the grain. We got to make it hard for ourselves. And if we could just like fight the system, fight the man for a little bit, we had to go get the Air Jordan number 1s. Like I said, created a movement, created a culture, and created everything we see today. And for that, I say thank you, because Mama Jordan was the one that made Michael Jordan attend that Nike meeting. This little bitty running shoe that nobody ever thought that would even be anything big. Next thing you know, the biggest shoe, the biggest brand, the biggest marketing, everything that anything has to do with shoes. Nike and Air Jordan created something that will last in infamy. Again, I present to you Michael, Nike, Air Jordan 1s.
Nah, you know, for me, everybody knows this is my favorite shoe to rock. I love this shoe. High top, mid tops, low tops, especially original colorways. I just think the shoe goes well with everything. I think the more you wear it, the more it builds character, the better it looks. It's just one of those shoes where even when it creases, it just looks good, whatever reason.
You with the creases.
No, it just does. It's something about that. Like Jordans that crease just look good. It just Air Jordan 1s just have been able to sustain such longevity even today. And shout out to Wear Testers at Nightwing. He'll tell you best. It has the best bottoms as far as
traction.
Yes. This shoe right here, if you stop, man. You'll break your ankle on this shoe, man. This shoe, the level of stickiness to the cord and how it is amazing. But I think also too, I think we go look at Jordan, is that Nike pretty much put all their eggs in one basket with Michael Jordan. And you got to remember too that the Chicago Bulls did the exact same thing at the time. Drafting a shooting guard and those times was actually like not smart in the sense of basketball. Everything was around the center and the big man. So for Chicago Bulls to take a big chance on Michael Jordan with a 3rd round pick on a player that had a very good college year, but not on the level that anyone ever seen. And even then, at the time, no one thought that Michael Jordan could come in Chicago and be such an incredible force. His gameplay was so different from everyone else. And then Nike was able to find a way to match that shoe that was so different. I mean, it's just an incredible story because now we look at it now and it's just like, man, to think that Michael Jordan being drafted at number 3 was controversial. To think that wearing a black and red shoes now considered the Breads it would be such a controversial thing. But it was at that time, and now it's the most iconic thing you can think of. You know what I mean? So, Calvin, I definitely want to hear about this because I know you and I have had the conversation about the 1s. I know you have.
What do we say? I'm just kidding. No, man. I mean, here we are, number 1. How fitting it to be the 1s at number 1. So for me, I actually did not get into this shoe from the initial release. I got into shoes and Jordans by the 7s, with the Bugs Bunny and stuff like that. So I was past this. My appreciation for the shoe actually came when I was in high school, when I started to really get in the sneaker game. In high school, college, when SBs were coming out. Dunk SBs, and I was like so into that culture. And I was like, yo, this shoe is perfect. It looks cool, has so many cool stories, colorways. And then at that time I was dancing for UT Goodfield. Shout out when we won first place. Hello, 2005. I mean 6 or 7. 6. Yeah, 07. We got our ass kicked. But that was good. But anyways, they were the best dancing shoe. Dunk SBs. Ask any dancer back in those days. They'll say that's the best dancing shoe. And I was still into basketball, but I didn't realize that Dunk SB was based off of this original iconic silhouette, the Jordan 1s. I'll put on Khoa.
Hold on. Trivia. Okay. First of all, Dunks have been around for a while, right? The SBs, little tidbit, never come out without the air pocket, right?
Right.
All right. What came first, the Air Jordan 1s or the Dunks?
You look like you about to serve me some nuggets right here, fam. Put the Chick-fil-A sauce on the side.
It was actually the Nike Air Jordan 1s came out first. The reason that Dunks were created in the first place, and not all Dunks have air. The reason that the Dunks were created was because they wanted to make a similar silhouette and colorways for college players. So every college had a different colorway for their respective school.
Right.
Now, again, the Air Jordan came out first, but if you put them side by side, there's actually a lot of differences. There's like the tongue, there's the back of the shoe, there's a couple, the way the leather is cut, there's low tops, there's high tops. So like I said, there's a lot of differences if you were to put side by side. But yes, the Dunks were actually inspired by the Nike Air Jordan.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then for me, just looking back at that, I was like, yo, even though as much as I love the shoe, I felt a little fake because I was like, yo, I don't skate, but I love SBs, but I do hoop. So I was like, I do hoop. So I just kind of fell in love with this shoe, and I just realized how iconic it was, and I started learning about the whole band colorway, and just I think what Chris said is my favorite thing about it. It just looks better over time, you know? It's just a classic shoe, and it's the one that started it all, and it looks good.
I'll give him the creases. I might even let him go on the little yellowing of the translucent rubber. But that burnt popcorn, I ain't gonna let that go.
No popcorn on this one.
Such a nugget give himself up. Hey, also too, I think it's interesting that Nike in the last couple of years, especially Jordan brand, has stepped into that skateboard culture as well. So you see a lot of the younger up-and-coming minority skateboarders actually rock Jordan 1s. They actually have had a lot of really awesome Jordan 1 SB silhouettes that actually sell for $500, $600, $700, $800 now. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those, but I think that's crazy how even now Jordan affects the skateboard culture. I mean, that tells you everything.
And it's the best dance shoe, better than any Vans. Later, y'all. I don't care who you are. This is way better than your Vans.
I thought Paul Rodriguez was your cousin.
No, but interesting that Paul Rodriguez was given. Interesting. Paul Rodriguez was given his first. He was the first skateboarder to get his own shoe, and he wanted his shoe to be like the Jordan 1s.
Yeah.
So Thank you. Hey,
Jordan 3s actually. He wanted the Jordan 3s.
You're welcome. You're welcome
Nuggets.
for that assist.
Nuggets, fam.
I'm telling you. Hey, shout out to Paul Rodriguez. Shout out to Travis Scott. Them Cactus Air Jordan 1s are fire too, man. Dude, for Jordan 1s to be out that long and to still be relevant today, I wondered, if you could put out the Concord and the 1s, what would sell out more? Just have all availability across the way, right? Jordan Air Jordan 1s and the Concord, and that's the 11s, and let everybody just decide by sales. I wonder who would actually win.
I think it depends who, right now, this day and age, tomorrow, if you put it out tomorrow, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure.
I say the 1s just because there's more iconic style to it.
That's what I'm saying.
Because the people who get the 11s have nostalgia. You know what I mean?
I think the 11s would bust out the door with a huge lead. but eventually, over time, I think like we want to flatten the curve, right? So
shout out coronavirus. Shout out.
Hey, we gotta bring that one out. Hey, I'm sorry, I was the one. I'll take it. Anyways, I think over time the ones will take over.
Yeah.
Hey, I also think it's interesting too because, I would say that the Jordan 1's popularity has grown in the last 3 or 4 years because in prior, like I would say 4 or 5 years ago, Jordan 1's would just sit on the shelf. Nobody would buy them. You could actually get a lot of really great colorways, original OG colorways at half the price because nobody cared about them. And I was happy with that. I think that's why they became my favorite Jordan because I have so many colorways because they were so cheap at the time. But now that's not the case. They even went up this year on the price of the Jordan
$65 no more?
No. They're 170, and now they have the OG Jordans, and now they actually have a new OG 85 that actually sold for like $200. And so
the super high top.
High top. Hey, I'm not gonna lie. You brought up a good point when you said the 85. Guess what? The 85s. What is the rubber? Is it Christine White? The sole. It's not Christine White. It's like it has a little yellow tint to it, right? Right. So I'll give you props on that one, Chris. I'll say that. You sold me. You got me.
Yeah, but your face don't got me. I want you to remember that. Hey, Calvin.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna say I think John's gonna get into our honorable mentions, and then after getting honorable mentions, man, I definitely want to hear a couple of Jordans that have impacted and been really important to you. Because I honestly got to say, like, I just really admire what an advocate you are for just the shoe collection, man. And I know how much you appreciate that. And I think that's kind of a lost art now. People buy sneakers now just to resell them, as opposed to our old generation where we buy sneakers just because we want to wear them because we just love that shoe. So, John, go ahead with those honorable mentions, and I definitely want to hear what Calvin has to say.
No, that too. But I like he was saying, Chris was saying, and I think it's a perfect segue into your knowledge of the shoe game. I think as far as all of us are put together, I think you have the best collection and knowledge as far as like resales, what sells, what doesn't, what goes into the shoe game itself. Like I said, Jordan created all kinds of different aspects of this culture, and one of them is resale and retros. And who better to have on the show than my man Calvin, the PJ Tucker, of the crew. So again,
I was gonna say I never said this, but I was done collecting Jordans after they stole all my shoes on my birthday.
R.I.P. man, I'm sorry. Kershaw, that story hurts me every time you say it, dude.
No, until I met Calvin, and then I saw, like, honestly, you really got, you can ask Daisy and Josh, man. I went home the first time I met you and we hooped, and I saw the shoes that you had, and like, you have a duffel, like, this man brings a duffel bag of, like, 5 or 6, 7 pairs of shoes to hoop in before Tucker even did it.
Yeah, because I have plantar fasciitis, so I have to pick a shoe that fits me better.
But you got me back into wanting to collect shoes again, man, so I want to say I appreciate that, especially Jordans. After they stole all my Jordans, I was just like, man, I never in my life will ever.
Don't do it, Chris. You're good. You're good without it.
With that being said, fellas, we gotta get to these honorable mentions. What did we leave out? The shoe expert.
Oh well, see, the thing is, like you said, man, this culture speaks to everybody. I mean, I appreciate such the high praise and compliments, but I really stand by I'm not a true super sneaker guy. I just love basketball and I love shoes, man. I'm always searching for the perfect one that fits right because they all have a story, you know? Like you said, they all have a story that comes along with it. And they all mean something. For some reason, we all pick 1 or 11 as our top 2, but for different reasons. And that what makes it so beautiful. You know, everyone has their own particular reason why they love this shoe. Like for me, I know my honorable mentions are not shoes that I think anyone else would probably pick. But for me, they mean something. Like the Jordan 17, that's one for me. And for me, that was a big deal because I was able to see Jordan in a different uniform. You know, that's when he went to the Washington Wizards, and I was like, yo, the greatest player, because you already knew he was the greatest player back then, is on the Washington Wizards in a blue uniform. And I was like, yo, this is so crazy. So I got that shoe. Yeah, I got that shoe, that very first colorway. And that was like my first shoe that I bought legit with my own money. Out of college, working at Olive Garden, being a host, and eating breadsticks. Those breadsticks got me that shoe.
I think I remember you, dude.
Yeah, I finished your chicken parmesan when you didn't finish it. I took it to the back. But yeah, and that shoe was just so, I mean, it was just meant a lot because I was like, yo, I'm buying my own shoe. Jordan, it's like a new era. He's in, I think I was starting college. He's playing for the Wizards, and it came in a briefcase. And I was just like, yo, this is next level stuff, man. This shoe is in a legit briefcase, and I actually use that briefcase still to this day at Soundbox. So,
but that was actually the first shoe that went over $200.
Yeah, I remember I bought it from my friend who worked at Foot Action at the time, and I was like, yo, I can't wait to hoop in these. But we only hooped outdoors. So I pulled them out, hooped in them, burned through that rubber in about 3 weeks. My friend was just shaking his head. He's the one who sold it to me, and I was just like, dude, I'm sorry, man. I couldn't help it. Because to me, that's what it's for. Basketball shoes are for basketball. You know, I didn't get into fashion basketball shoes until like Dunk SB's days, to be honest. And I was wearing Pumas and Adidas Superstars.
Like I said, the threes, I never hooped in them. Every other
right, because it's so stylish, you know. But yeah, that for me. And then I guess my last quick honorable mention, just like you said, I just want to touch up on it. But the eights, I know we didn't talk about it a lot, but this is the first shoe I ever got as a kid. My parents never bought me shoes. I remember I was in 4th grade, so that tells you how old I am. My aunt, who was in town from California, she was like, yo, I'll buy you those shoes. That's fine. My mom got mad at her. I was crying because I was so happy. But the very next day I wore this shoe. I literally have never felt this. It felt like a movie. All eyes turned to me, girls, boys, teachers, probably that creepy janitor. And they just looked at me like, yo, Calvin. I literally felt like She's All That. Like, I just walked in and Mean Girls, you know, when she got a makeover. And I just wore these shoes, and they're like, yo, Calvin, you got the new Jordans? I was like, duh, dog. I mean, it's whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just whatevs. Oh, these? Bugs Bunny? Yeah, whatevs. And from that moment, I mean, I bought these shoes because they were cool, not because anyone told me. I bought them because it was Bugs Bunny and it was basketball, right? I wasn't trying to compete, but the way people treated me and the way people reacted and just that kind of like envious feeling, it's almost addicting, right? To just kind of be like that fly ass kid, you know what I mean? And you're just like, yo, I am commanding this room, and people will treat you differently by the clothes you wear. I know it's not a good message to speak, you know what I mean?
Listen, but I got picked up on teams I should have never got picked up on. Because I
your
had
shoes.
shoes.
And
you got those shoes, you know how to hoop.
Exactly. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. And then, like from there, it just that fueled it ever since 4th grade. And I still remember, and I can still smell it. But I remember they were playing soccer with a Lakers basketball, and I kicked it. And I got a purple ass streak on my shoe, and I can still smell the shoe cleaner. Because I inhaled that because I was like, yo, I'm not messing this shoe up. And from there, man, it just never stopped. You just got to keep chasing that new shoe, that like best performance, and the shit that's going to make everyone turn and look at you when you walk into your 4th grade class. You know what I'm saying? So that's for me, man.
Especially them boys, right?
Yeah.
The boys and the teachers.
I've always said that I know girls compete with each other for like sports bras and whatnot, or they love things of that nature. When you're growing up, girls compete with each other about certain things that's on the outside. But I think for boys, it's always been about shoes, man. Always. Like, and I know this because I was always on the other side. For me, I felt like I was the girl that never got to wear a sports bra because all I wore was Pro Payless. So I always felt like people made fun of me all the time, if you understand what I mean. Like I was always that kid that was like, that had the worst Payless shoes ever. And I always just looking at kids when they're walking with the brand new Air Jordans, especially after Christmas time. Man, feelings would come on.
No, you were, but like you grew up, you came through, you're my friend now,
Yeah, now I can wear my sports bra.
Yeah. I mean, look, trust me, after these eights, bro, it was a quick fall off because my aunt left, my mom didn't buy me this shit no more, so I was rocking Pro Wings, British Knights, and I think it took me till 1997 to get Jumpman Pro.
British Knights, don't trip on them, man.
BK Knights, bro.
Dude, my first name brand pair of shoes were LA Gear like 4 years after LA Gear was no longer cool. Like, and I got them like super cheap for like $19.99. Yeah, man.
Well, like light ups weren't there no more. Like he still got the LA Gears. So I'm having so much fun. I do not want to end this at all. But it goes into saying like guys want to be guys that see people with Jordans on, and girls want to be with guys that have Jordans on. You feel me? So I don't know about the sports ball, but
sports bra.
You know what I mean? It's just comparison about think about it. Guys tease other guys when they wore wax shoes. I got picked on all the time for my shoes, man. And girls would pick on other girls for stupid stuff like that, man. You know what I mean? Just saying. Facts.
Listen, no, seriously, like Chris and I have gone back so far. Calvin, I feel like you're like that third stepbrother that we didn't really care for. Came through at the end, and Khoa was there to videotape the whole thing, right?
Pervert, dude.
So, no, fellas, dude, really, this has been one of my favorite shows because this really takes me back in the day, and I feel like we did it right. We did it justice. I think, like, for the culture, we did this. I don't know if we can ever do something to do anything else like this justice, but this has been, like I said, one of my favorite shows. Please, everybody, tell me what you think. Tell me how you feel, how the first pair of J's made you feel. Tell me if you agree or disagree with this list. Like, subscribe, and share, and I know you guys will love it. I know you guys will have plenty to say. Thank you so much for taking your time and joining us. And we've had a blast doing this for you, for the culture, for the people, because we are the People's Podcast. Right, Khoa?
Yeah.
All right, fellas.
Thank you, guys.
Out. Man, it's been a blast.
Special thanks out for Calvin for coming on, man.
Thank
Calvin,
you guys for having me.
Always love to have you on, bro.
Appreciate it, guys. I'm not PJ Tucker, but I love to talk shoes, and talk shit and talk sports bras with y'all anytime.
Also, you can't see it, but he's wearing the 2s right now. We didn't talk about them.
Honorable mentions, baby. Honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Honorable mention. There you go.
What was this, the Aston Martin?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, time of the show. We got to sign off.
Wait, whoa. We just lost 2 people?
It's getting kind of late. And plus, you're the one that told us we had to get off. Anyways, yes, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, we had a blast doing this show. One for the people, one for the culture. You know what it is. Sports Chat Podcast. Again, tell me what you think about our top 10. Tell me how you feel. Tell me the first time you put on a pair of J's, how that made you feel. And I couldn't say enough. I had a blast with these gentlemen. Calvin, thank you. Khoa and Chris, of course. We're taking it back. Take me back to my childhood. So we know a little bit about us, a little bit about what we went through to get a pair of these sneakers on the feet. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm out. Khoa, let them go.
Peace.